Hello, welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're going to be reviewing House of Fado by Vital Lacerda and Joao Martins.
This is the newest game in their,
Small box game?
Not small box, right? But I think they stopped calling them thinky fillers, which I'm grateful for. This is the lighter weight approaches to Lacerda-esque games. Joao Martins was the co-designer that worked with him on Bot Factory as well, which we enjoyed.
This is loosely based on the Galerist, even though thematically it's very different.
Yeah, so Fado music is a very traditional type of Portuguese music. You invite people into your restaurant, they listen to it, and then, as good people do, they applaud. So let's go ahead and show you how this game plays, and then we'll go ahead and give you our thoughts. Here's House of Fado set up on the table. This is the central worker placement board where you'll be hiring musicians, getting listeners in from the streets. You'll be able to take musicians and place them on display here, and this is where you can get new songs for them to perform. And this down here is your own personal restaurant. Fado is a traditional Portuguese music style where you'll have these musicians here performing for those who are seated at a restaurant ready to eat and ready to listen. And so thematically you'll be filling tables, you might take some seats at your bar, and these represent you musicians here of the Portuguese guitar, singer, and classical guitar variety. And these dice here are markers that can upgrade the level of your musician in your restaurant. There's a track here that you can upgrade to increase the quality of your restaurant, and these are the music notes you can turn in to complete the songs. In this game, players will take turns, one at a time, placing a worker onto an action spot on the board and performing the actions available at that spot. Players continue to do this one turn after another until 3 of these stars have been collected off of the board, which will trigger the end of the game. The ways to do that are to be the first person to have 3 of these songs written, to empty out that track on the bottom of the restaurant board, or to be the first person to have a level 6 musician of each of the 3 types. When you take a turn, you'll place your worker out into a spot and perform exactly what it says. Now, if you go to a spot where there already is a worker, you will bump them out of there, and they'll get a kick-out bonus where they can go to one of these 3 spots below it, earn some money, get some of those music tiles, or be able to get the guests into their restaurant for a free bonus action. Now let's talk about the different spots. These spots here on the top allow you to hire new musicians, pay them in order to come into your restaurant and be able to perform there. So as you pay for these, they will come in at level 1. So you'll place a level 1 die on them to indicate that they're a new level musician, and they'll be able to upgrade over the course of the game. As you go to these spots here in the middle, you'll be able to recruit new customers into your restaurant to listen to the musicians, or you could pay for a critic to come to your restaurant and give you a strong review which will level up your track. So you can take customers, as many as you can seat at a table on your player board. If you come to one of these spots on the bottom, you can take one of those 2 types of musicians and place them on display, but they have to be at least level 2. So I could take this person over here, which would earn me 3 points because he's a level 3 musician. This person will go back up to the top available market to be rehired again. I will earn points from this, and I'll also take one of those cubes off of my player board, upgrading my restaurant, but also vying here for endgame majority scoring based on whoever has the most cubes or who has put musicians in the billboard area the most times. The last spot on the board here allows you to either take a music notation tile or to trade in a set of them that match one of the songs in the available market. If you turn these in, you'll be able to collect this tile for points, as well as collecting these, the first to 3, remember getting this star over here. If you place a worker into this section of your board here, you are triggering a performance, and now all of the customers who are seated at tables will pay you money for being there, and as you upgrade this track, they will pay you more money, as well as they will applaud for the different musicians. So in this case, it takes different amount of listeners to applaud and upgrade your musician. So I could dedicate this person to applaud over here, leveling up my level 1 singer to a level 2. Then these 2 can applaud for this performer here, leveling up to level 4, but unfortunately I don't have enough to go from 4 up to 5 because that would require 3 additional. Now the other possibility is if you had a critic seated at one of your tables, they would block that whole table for themselves, and they will not applaud for your performers to level them up. However, at the end of the performance, they will advance 2 cubes off of your player board so that your restaurant is more well regarded. If you are able to upgrade cubes all the way to this spot over here, the restaurant will expand and you can have a 4-seat table. If you get all of the cubes off of your board, you will then collect one of the stars off of the main board. If you're the first player to reach a level 6 musician of each of the 3 types, you will also collect their star and earn 6 points immediately. When 3 stars have been removed off of the board, the endgame is triggered, but players will get equal number of turns based on first player. You will first go to endgame scoring by counting the number of songs that each player has completed by turning in these music tiles. They score these points during the game, but at the end of the game, they'll score a bonus for having completed more. Secondly, you'll look at who has collected the most stars over the course of the game, or who has collected what number of stars. As you collect more, you also gain more points. You'll gain points for all of your leftover levels of musicians still performing in your restaurant, and then you'll count the cubes over here for the end game majority, splitting ties as needed. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner. So as we said at the beginning, this is a little bit of a simplified riff of the Galerist, but if you haven't played the Galerist, it's fine. We'll review this as its own, and we'll do a small comparison, I guess, maybe later on. You haven't played the Galerist, I have.
I haven't. In fact, that is the only Lacerda game I have not played.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So your initial impressions then on this, simple worker placement, the bump out system, the kick out bonuses.
I really like the bump out system. I think that it is super cool that as you place that worker, it bumps to those bonuses. And so you're constantly making that choice of, do I want to place out my worker and give someone something extra? But also, you can't come back until you've removed your worker. So you're sitting there waiting for will someone bump me please? Because I don't want to move my worker just before someone comes to that spot.
Yeah, it's a very clean system. 3 workers can't go where they already are. Cool, right? Someone bumps you out and you take the cheapest, the really nice little kick out bonus. You're yeah, I'll just sit here so no one else can take it. Until you want to send another worker to that spot, because that also blocks you.
Then it sucks, yeah.
I like that rule so much.
I feel like I've seen a lot more of the idea of where you place out workers and then you have a recall action if people haven't bumped you. So I appreciate that this adds a different form of positive interaction, that instead you get bonuses, but you never have that point where you have to recall workers. You never feel like you lose a turn.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting, different way to do worker placement.
And it has a little bit of the telltale signs of a lot of this designer's game, Vital Lacerda's games. In that, and I'm Joao Martins, I think, has done a great job as well. But obviously, this is based kind of on Lacerda's work. So one of those ideas of really sequencing your actions. You have to, when do you choose to move a worker away from a spot, because that'll open it up for yourself next turn. But you leaving yourself there, especially in the main spot, hoping to get bumped out. How long do you delay moving yourself away from a spot? All right, someone's going to bump me soon. Someone's going to bump me soon.
Yeah, the hope is that you'll always be able to take guys that have moved to bonuses and move them around, but it just doesn't happen that way.
Right, because I need to go take this action again. So I got to,
Yeah. So I think that the worker placement, that side of it, I very much enjoy. To talk a little bit about negatives, I think, just to get that out of the way before we talk more positives, is the iconography in this. There's definitely a few things that I struggle with. For one thing, there's this icon that's tables and chairs, and I think everybody that I've talked to says that they think it looks like a piece of cake.
It looks like melting ice cream cake.
Melted cake, yeah. So there's a little confusion there. There's a few iconography confusion moments, and I think that they're not clear. But then all of the images are really tiny, so it's just kind of hard to see. I feel like they could have blown everything up, and it could have been a little bit easier to read and to know what's going on.
And some of it is going to be nitpicky, right? That icon looks kind of funny. Ha, ha, ha. Well, that icon is used in a weird spot. One of the stars that you can earn is if you reach the end of all the cubes on your upgrade board. But it's odd because that same symbol, the little table, is used partway through the track. That's how you can upgrade your restaurant to the 4-person table. But you don't get the star when you reach that icon. So, what I mean?
Yeah, but the star on the board shows that icon instead of the little plate and fork.
Yeah, because that's the plate and fork track. So there's some iconography confusion. Will that go away after the initial play or two? Sure, right? But even the second time playing it, I was like, when do I get that again? That goes away. But the small iconography doesn't go away. The
2 different types of guitars are very hard to distinguish because they're so small. I think if they were bigger, I mean, they're clearly different pictures, but They're both brown. They both have a similar guitar shape. And
Sure.
so, making those tiny icons makes it difficult. The way I think of this is it's not icon soup. There's not an excessive amount of icons. It's more like icon salad tray. Like, you know what I mean? You have a few icons, like a salad has just a few toppings.
They're overall very good, right? But when you have to if you teach games, if you teach this often to people, and I think one of the strengths of this game is that I'm going to teach this to far more people than I'll teach the Galerist, right? Or other, Lysera's huge games. So don't make the onboarding difficult. Why is the same symbol for seat someone at your restaurant the same symbol used for this person can go only to your bar, right? There's those 2 bar seats on your board.
Yeah, but it only comes from bonus actions, not from,
Yeah, and they don't pay you money, but they will applaud to upgrade your people. So, like, some of those things could have just been visually a bit more clear. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very dark board, and the fact that some of the guests that you can bring into your restaurant are black make it very confusing as you're reading the rule book. You're like, oh, they left some of the spaces there for the customers empty. No, they're just black meeples covering up a black outline on a dark board.
I think that your point of, like, the onboarding is a little bit difficult. I think once you get it, it's there. You know what I mean? Like, it all makes sense. There's a few things that are in the way and they make the game a little bit harder. It's harder with the critics. The critics sit right in the middle of the customers on the board, and so...
But they're not a customer.
So they don't count towards the 4 limit to refill, and, there's a few things.
Right.
There's a few things that do interrupt gameplay.
Right, and because the board is so dark, here's where it functionally bothers me, is that we forget to refill a lot of times.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, or like, oh, we need to refill that. No, there's 2 black customers sitting there, the black meeples. Yeah. And so, little annoyances like that. In what is otherwise, I think, a very smooth game. So it irks me a little bit that there's these onboarding annoyances and these ongoing little graphic annoyances.
Yeah.
But the actual gameplay, I think that those things generally will melt away.
I think it's relatively smooth. I like that there's not a bajillion worker placement spots. In fact, there's not that many because most of them are mirrored. So there's really only 4 different places that you can go. I guess 5 because you have your player board too.
Yeah.
But there's 4 on the main board that you can go to, and they work the same. The idea of the mirroring. You know what I mean? Like, this deals with this side. This deals with this side. We come down. This deals with this side. This deals with this side. And so I appreciate that, and I do think that creates some smoothness behind the teaching. I also think the theme is tied in very well.
Oh, I love it.
I think that the way that that's one thing that I love about Lacerda games is that he ties the themes into the mechanics so well. And so as you are hiring people to come into your bar, they're leveling up because they're getting experience performing in front of crowds. The people that come to your bar or come to your food tables, you know what I mean? They eat food. They get to pay you for coming. So they help you upgrade as well as give you money. So I think that thematic tie-in is so strong in this, and I love that because it makes it a little bit easier to teach the rules.
Right, and when you're putting the musicians on display, you're putting them in the billboard area, you're getting fame from that. You've helped build them up. You can hire them back later, but they cost more because they're leveled up musicians.
Right.
So much of the thematic touches are well integrated mechanically, and I love that. Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that we do laugh at is when the people in your bar don't pay you money to listen to the music. Because, alcohol is the cheapest part of the meal.
It is, definitely.
We laugh at that little touch. But, it's nice. I like that feeling of like, oh, they gave some character to your restaurant. It's not just another place to like plop pieces down. The way that they applaud and they level up the musicians, it makes me think, like, as you become a better musician, one guy, like, just clapping and, woo! It doesn't feel as good as, like, a whole audience.
A whole crowd of 3 people, yeah.
Yeah, rip-roaring it for you. So,
I also like the critics. They take up an entire table. They don't pay you for their food. And they help you in the future, but they don't help you now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's so many good thematic touches in here.
And I think because of that, while I think a lot of people will say, is there going to be much change from game to game? You're going to be doing the same types of things throughout. And for one thing, I'm more okay with that in a 30 to 60-minute game than a 2-hour experience, right? But there are some nice change-ups from game to game. How much are you going to remove those cubes off the track? How much are you going to fight for the majorities? Or are you going to just race to get 3 of the stars, trigger the end of the game, you get 21 bonus points just for being the person to collect that many stars.
Yeah.
That's nice, right?
I think that's where I struggled initially, especially in a 2-player game, is I felt like in a 2-player game we had to do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a, that 3+ game, I felt like you could more specialize. Like, I'm going to focus on this style of artist and I'm going to make them a 6 and I'm going to shoot for that star.
Right.
Instead of feeling like you have to go for everything. So I enjoyed that. I think I enjoyed this might be a little bit more at a higher player count game.
Yeah.
In general, 2-player games are very tight, especially if you use the variant.
I don't know if this is a Kickstarter only variant or if this is whatever, but there. So as a little nod to the original game, The Galerist, you have your regular worker in The Galerist, and you can leave an assistant when you move that main worker to somewhere else. And that assistant can get the bump out bonus as well. Mm-hmm. So in the 2-player game, they give you these extra little meeples. Once again, I'm not sure if this is a promotional thing, but it was in the box that we're reviewing, right? I love this 2-player mode, where as you move a worker, you can leave a little assistant. That way there's more bump out in a 2-player game. That's great. It definitely ramps up the thinkiness of this.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So we originally played it that way a couple times, and I was like, wow, this game is so intensely thinky. So I felt like it was like Lacerda weight in a shorter version instead of Lacerda weight in a lighter version.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really, it felt so head-to-head because those little workers could block extra bonuses. The timing was different. Like, you just had to think about every move and plan everything precisely and read the other person. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're one of those people that really enjoys those head-to-head card games and you also enjoy heavy Euros, like...
4-dimensional hyper chess kind of player.
Yeah, like this has that in the 2-player mode. So if that is something that sounds amazing to you, you'll probably love this.
Or you can just play 2-player with just the 3 workers.
You probably won't bump each other much.
And you'll yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be rare. Yeah.
So all of that being said, all that together, how would you come down on this game?
I'm going to come down as an 8 on this game. Like I said, that theme is tied in so beautifully into the mechanics, and I love that so much because it gives me the thinky, trying to plan ahead and determine where you want to go ahead of time so you can set yourself up for the right movements. Like, it has all of that, but it also has that rich theme. I love music. I don't know a ton about Fado music specifically, but I just really appreciate that even not knowing this type of music specifically, just knowing music in general and performance, like, it all makes a lot of sense, but it also is that nice 60-minute time frame, and the game can go relatively quickly. I do prefer it at the 3+ players because it is less intensely cerebral, but I still did enjoy it at a 2, at the 2-player variant.
Okay, I'm giving this one an 8.5.
You doing it?
I think that this is an excellent game.
Excellent.
It's another, just like the prior game that these two worked on together, Bot Factory. I think it's a wonderful distillation into a quicker time frame of kind of one of the original games. And this is one that I see myself teaching far more. I enjoy the Galerist, but I'm intimidated to set up all the pieces and to make sure that, instead of having a cute little die that pips up and levels up, you have to keep track of the strength of an artist by moving a cube on it. There's multiple artists around and you have to grab their pieces of artwork. This simplifies a lot of that fun stuff. Instead of having to move customers into your art gallery through multiple steps, and people might steal people as you've worked hard, halfway to get them into your gallery. And there's less of that stuff, but the interaction is still very direct in the worker placement board. You're very much debating how much is it worth it to let someone get a kick out bonus if you take that spot from them. But boy, you really want that action, and they're limited enough that it's there. We talked about the complaints. Why is the treble clef symbol the icon for grab any music notation note?
Including the treble clef.
Including the treble clef, but there's other ones, right? Those annoyances go away for me, but they are worth mentioning. All of that together still, I think what clenches this as an excellent game for me is the first time teaching it to someone. We played it, the two of us, a few times first.
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Teaching it to someone else, after I taught it, I was like, wait, am I done teaching it already?
Like, it was really smooth.
Yeah, it's a very smooth teach. So therefore, a game that I'm excited to teach to a lot of other people because the depth comes in the mechanics the mechanics and the play of it, rather than the overwhelming rules overhead and everything. So yeah, I think this is a great game, one that I highly recommend. So that's our thoughts on House of Fado, giving it a seal of excellence.
There you go. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And play that funky music, baby.
Play that Fado music, yeah. Bum, 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 bum.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassett.
Yeah, by the way, Homestead's on fire right now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we're going to move, and I guess we're leaving behind a giant trail of ash. Salt the grounds. We're not really doing that.
Is that a thing?
I
don't even know what that is. When there's ash, you put salt on the ground?
No. Oh. Cough that ash out. That's what the Clash was all about. Cough that ash out. Cough that ash out. It's here and I don't like it.